And although the sandbags kind of give it away that you might be close, it's certainly not a guarantee, and so it's the best of both worlds. You have cover and concealment. What you can also do is put sandbags in a bush, which I often do, but typically that will draw fire to the sandbags, and drawing fire to a bush, and you end up with no bush. The bush dies. It gets blown apart. And I don't condone the loss of innocent life, and more importantly, I need that bush to hide in. So for two reasons, I do not often put sandbags. I do not always put sandbags in bushes. Twice now, the guy in the coaxial machine gun, or the I think it's a coax, whatever machine gun is on the top. Twice now, the guy's been shot, and so that is the worst job to have inside a tank. But I managed to kill a scout car. I don't know why he bought that scout car. I guess he forgot about my tank or something, because he really wanted to brutalize my infantry with that scout car. Those scout cars are paper-thin armor, but they have nice maneuverability, and they have an MG34 on top, so why not mow some people down with it? But yeah, they don't stand up to a tank, I'll tell you that much. And you see I'm repairing this Hetzer. That's another reason to support your tank with infantry, even if your tank if your tank gets knocked out by some rocket launcher dude, even if you kill the rocket launcher dude with your tank somehow, like in the middle of being knocked out or something, I don't know, maybe the tank crewmen get out and exact revenge. Even if you manage to do that, your tank is going to be dead, and typically it'll be dead in your enemy territory if you've been trying to attack with your tank, which is something we often do with tanks. There goes my T-34. That sucked. That's what Hetzer will do to you, man. Especially if you buy the cheap T-34s, which is, of course, what I do. So if your tank gets knocked out in enemy territory, 10 minutes later, it might show up at your doorstep saying, "Hello, I have switched sides. The glorious motherland has accepted me for who I am. I am a communist now. I see that Stalin is correct. And, yeah, motherland." And so we don't want your Hetzers doing that. No one wants your Hetzers doing that. Your Hetzers belong safely in Germany, where they do bad things. And so if you have infantry supporting your tank, you can at the very least, well, in best case scenario, you're going to protect your tank and repair it and take it back from the clutches of the opponent. But worst case scenario, if you have infantry around your tank, someone can grab the dynamite off the tank. Every tank's got dynamite. Someone can grab the dynamite off the tank and lay the dynamite and then run away. And kaboom! You can't have the tank, but they can't have the tank. So, it's a zero-sum game. But what's it gonna do? This guy apparently has some sort of Hetzer fetish, which I can understand. The Hetzer is a very pretty tank. I would certainly bang it. But, this is second Hetzer so far. The Hetzer is an interesting tank because it has such a low profile. It's probably a horrible tank to drive around. You can go on Wikipedia and look at, pictures of the inside of the Hetzer, and it just, Jesus Christ, that is not fun. But yeah, it's got very low profile, so it's useful if you have some low hill that you want to hide behind. This map does not have a lot of low hills. It has a lot of gigantic towering hills that block line of sight for everybody. So Hetzer's not specifically useful on this map, where a low profile isn't super necessary. But it's still a good tank because it's got a nice gun on it. It's a kind of a tank hunter, is what it is, because the gun is not on a turret. It's just in a little swivelly thing on the front. So you only have, like, I don't know, 30 degrees of traverse in either direction. But that weakness is, woo, my mortar just landed next to the Hetzer. I was just firing at it to see what happens, and I killed a bunch of the SMG infantry. So support your tanks, but do not support them by kissing them, because if you're too close, you're just gonna get shot. Oh, this is epic fail on my part. I finally managed to repair the Hetzer, and immediately he sprints for it and gets in the Hetzer and starts driving away. So this is, yeah, this is not my finest hour. Luckily, I managed to knock the Hetzer out, which is the whole zero-sum game again, but that was it's probably the worst thing I have done in Men of War in quite a while. That would have been an extreme black eye on my part if he actually made off with the Hetzer. That's forcing your opponent to do all the work of repairing it and then just running in and stealing it at the last second. I mean, I've done that a couple times. That is the best feeling in the world, but yikes. So learn from me, learn from my mistakes. Do not do that. You see I have my mortar kind of behind that hill. That's so he can be protected. Stick mortars behind the hill. There's no reason not to. But yeah, back to talking about the Hetzer. It's got very nice armor, mostly because by virtue of the slope. I'm not sure if you can tell from what you're seeing of the Hetzer right now. Oh, now you're not seeing anything of the Hetzer, but no, you are. But it's got a heck of a slope from the front, and even from the sides, it's not too bad. From the top, it doesn't have a slope. Nothing really has. Oh, we have artillery coming in. That's bad. I have to start moving around. So you see I immediately go into artillery mode and start moving my infantry away from points where my opponent would suspect there is infantry, especially relocating the mortar, which was his original target. And I think I decided to leave the AT gun there because I figure it only fired once or twice and he never really noticed it. So there's that stupid SIG thing that's artillery. But anyways, back to the Hetzer. It's got a nice gun, it's got nice sloping armor, and it really doesn't have a lot of weaknesses, aside of course from if its tread is knocked out, it's not going to be able to turn and fire at you because it's a tank hunter, not a tank. But yeah, Hetzer's a nice little thing. It's sometimes worth buying. I'm not quite sure about the point cost versus a similarly portions Panzer IV, but look into the Hetzer sometime if you're having tank troubles. It's not so awful against infantry. It's got a machine gun on top, and I believe it's got a machine gun mounted on the hull too. The machine gun on top does not need to be crewed by a guy sitting on top. It's like a remote control machine gun. I have no idea how that worked in World War II, but apparently it worked because that's what it does. And but yeah, it's not perfect against infantry just because of it has not very good sight. So over here, my ally has apparently been fighting pitched tank battles the entire time, with corpses of tanks all over the map, large explosions, infantry running back and forth, so that's pretty exciting. So of course I'll go over to the left and pay attention to my T-34, which is probably going to get shot by a Hetzer in 10 seconds. Let's see what happens. Oh, no, I run away, because I don't want my T-34 dying. This is the cheap T-34, like I mentioned, and typically a Hetzer will shoot it, and it will die, which happened once already, so now I'm just going to hold it in reserve and hope to lure the Hetzer to my artillery. Or maybe I'm going to send the T-34 on a mission to take out that artillery, because right now the T-34 is the only thing I have that can move faster than a jog, than a sprint. Or faster than a crawl. Those two people were crawling. If your person is prone and you tell them to move, they will stay prone, which is very helpful. I think that's a good idea. But if you want them to stop being prone, but you can't hit the space bar to make them stand up because you've lost your left hand in some sort of grievous industrial accident. Oh, you saw the bushes move. Alright, I saw the bushes move too, so I'm getting a Molotov cocktail out. It's moving again, so I'm just gonna poof and burn. Of course, there's no one there anymore, and Molotov cocktail does not spread quite enough to catch the bush. But that does serve the purpose of making him go, "Huh, what's going on?" And he turns his infantry, starts to fight, mortars start falling, and yeah, my ally did something ridiculous over there, and stuff blew up. And that's how Men of War works. That's how Men of War works. Yeah, your people will stand up if you press the spacebar, but if you need them to stand up and you don't have time to press the spacebar, just double-click to get them to move, and that will tell them to sprint. Of course, they will ignore enemies. If they run past an enemy, the enemy will shoot them and they'll die, but oof! That guy I was telling to get into the tank is no longer going to get into the tank. I'm looking for his corpse, but he's just a crater now. Luckily, my mortar survived. The people crewing the mortar did not. So yeah, if you tell them to sprint, they will stand up, and if you want them to stop sprinting, like you just want them to stand up, and but you don't want them to ignore people, then just give them a single-click move order. Alright, third kill for this guy with his bazooka, and of course I retreat him immediately after. Those, what can I say? Oh, there goes my AT gun crew. What can I say? Bazooka is just fantastic. If your opponent is not super vigilant about keeping his tanks protected, then bam, it's bazooka time. And he actually managed to sneak some infantry into that point and decap the point that's now a neutral point. He managed to do that because he's been pounding me with artillery, and I'm trying to keep my infantry away from the common places for infantry, and also in that little gully where they were chilling, because that gully is protected from artillery fire because the sides are so steep. It's not 100% protected. Don't go online and be like, "Tycho told me I'm safe here," and then you sit around and kaboom, because you can still get hit by shells, but typically the angle is such that they're not going to be able to lob stuff in, or they might not bother. Speaking of lobbing, kaboom! There goes my guys. That's the tough thing about trying to cap a point back under artillery fire. This thing seems to be reloading pretty fast. Taking a grenade and a medkit. Always take time out of your busy schedule to steal things. Not in real life, though. I mean, maybe, but let's go ahead and say no. So, at this point I really want his artillery dead. I'm thinking of sending an infantry expedition to see what I can do, but this guy's better than that. He's got enough people spread out and enough scouts and stuff to catch my men in the act, and they just get mowed down immediately. But it's always nice to send probing expeditions like that. I mean, what do you care if someone dies? It's just a video game. So, whoop, Bazooka Man, another vehicle for him. That's 4 so far, although he might die now. Run away, run into the gully, Bazooka Man, where your friends will protect you. And my mortar, I'm getting so much out of it. I've recruited it like 2 or 3 times, because the people keep dying. Oh, that's the end of the mortar. But, Yeah, if your mortar gets decrewed, the mortar might still exist. I searched for it a second ago. You saw me drag that little box. You can still select the mortar. When it's dead, it'll also show up on the left-hand side where you can see all your units. It'll just have an X in it, signifying that whoever was once in the mortar is now in some other place, perhaps heaven or hell. Okay, game over. Recrew your mortars.